move somewhere, yes, the house needs to be perfect, but the area and your lifestyle and what really resonates with you and your family, all that needs to align. Good morning. I'm Dallas Seeley, founder and owner of the Seeley Group, one of the top-ranked real estate brokerages, not only in the state of Texas, but the entire country. So if you're watching this video and you live in California, you live in Florida, New York, Chicago, or anywhere else, and you're thinking about moving to Texas, you're thinking about relocating to Austin, and you're just getting started, or you're getting to that point where it's starting to get serious, we're here to help. Today, I've got a very special video with one of our top clients, just relocated from the Silicon Valley Bay Area of California to Austin, Texas, just a few months ago. And we're going to ask her some questions. We're going to find out how the story, the evolution, and how much she loves living here in Austin, Texas. Are you ready? I'm ready. Here we go.
The reason we left California is because California was absolutely not a good fit for us.
There just wasn't any community. Like, you really didn't know your neighbors.
No, I didn't know my neighbors at all. Yes.
The community was the complete opposite, was very, very important.
Yes. And I would say that the music scene, the comedy scene, and the food scene were huge draws because there are things that Dave and I like to do together.
Good morning. I'm Dallas Seeley, and I'm so excited to have one of not only our top epic, incredible clients of all time, but a dear friend of mine, Miss Lia Rensin. Big golf clap for Lia right here. Big golf clap. So thank you for agreeing to spend the time today to kind of share your story. Just moved here.
Yep.
A few months ago.
3 months.
Awesome. So I've got some questions prepared for you.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Question number one. You had just moved and relocated from California. What part of California did you leave behind, and what inspired you to move to Austin, Texas?
So we are from the Bay, we moved to the Bay Area of California for my husband's job. He's in tech. And we moved from Virginia, the DC area, to the Bay Area. It's really the place to be. And so we knew that we needed to be in California for a little while. I think I would say pretty early on, we recognized that it wasn't the best fit for us, but we were going to kind of tough it out because we felt like this is where job growth was really going to be.
What year did y'all move to the Bay Area?
We moved in 2015.
2015. And it was Silicon Valley?
Yes, Silicon Valley specifically, so south of San Francisco.
Okay.
Yep.
So you were in Silicon Valley for, what's that math, 9 years?
9 years.
9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And what inspired you to leave the gorgeous Bay Area behind and move to Austin, Texas?
So I feel like that's two questions, actually. The reason we left California is because California was absolutely not a good fit for us.
Okay.
In terms of socially, culturally, it is a beautiful area. The weather is phenomenal. I've yet to find an area that has better weather.
Yeah.
But we didn't feel like we fit with the culture. It is very much a monoculture out there. There's one way of thinking, and we're from the DC area. So we're used to lots of different people with lots of different ideas and people who talk about those. And we felt like in California, we couldn't speak our mind, that you had to speak one way, otherwise people look down on you.
I remember on that in our first couple Zoom calls while you're still living there, really talking about your vision and what's the best fit for your family. I specifically remember y'all talking about this incredible neighborhood y'all lived in Silicon Valley, and how there just wasn't any community. Like, you really didn't know your neighbors.
No, I didn't know my neighbors at all. We lived in the same house for 6 years. And the only time that one neighbor stopped by at the very beginning, because we had been renting, and so she wanted to introduce herself and give us her number, and that was it. Never saw her again. And the only time we ever saw our other next door neighbor is when he came over to complain because they were trimming the trees and some of the branches had fallen into his yard.
I remember now. It's all coming back. almost just as important as, like, actual specs of the home for your family.
Yes.
Finding a
Yes.
micro part of Austin where
Yes.
the community was
Yes.
the complete opposite was very, very important.
Yes, and I would say that, that was a success. My the second day that after the moving truck had gotten here, one of our neighbors came by, knocked on the door, said hello, introduced herself, gave me her number, said she wanted to get together. Then, I'd say maybe a week later, we got a letter on the door from the neighbor across the street giving, just welcoming us to the neighborhood, saying that she had a little welcome to the neighborhood present for us. We ended up going out to dinner with her and her husband, and then and I'm not this is all within the first month, or maybe even first 3 weeks, and then, another neighbor 2 doors down, had been walking by, and we struck up a conversation, and then he and his wife invited us over. So, within 3 weeks, I had met 3 neighbors and done something socially with them,
That's incredible.
right, as opposed to 9 years in California.
That's incredible. So, y'all could have gone anywhere. Why Texas? Why Austin specifically?
So, that's the second part of that question, which is so when we knew we were definitely going to leave California, we still needed someplace that had tech because Dave's not ready to retire yet. So, that was one of the big questions is where is there tech? In conjunction with that, we really wanted a state with no income tax. We wanted a better cost of living. Um, and we wanted some place that was a little bit more in line with how we think. But we didn't want something that was just one way. We didn't want California in reverse, right? We wanted something that was a little more open-minded. And so Austin really fit all of those bills.
Yes.
It's very diverse,
Yes.
but still leans a little bit more towards we are. So we feel at least a little bit more comfortable, but knowing that there are other people with different views, which is great. And I think that's what we want. I noticed how what how diverse the community is, not just in terms of how they're thinking, just they're from everywhere,
Yep.
which I think is really great also. And I would say that the music scene, the comedy scene, and the food scene
Yeah.
were huge draws because there are things that Dave and I like to do together. And so we have gone out more times than I think we ever did in the entire 9 years in California
Yes.
since we've been here.
There's definitely an unlimited things to do
Yeah.
here in Austin, Texas.
Yep.
Okay, so next question, take us through the moment when you realized it was time to leave California and start a new chapter in Texas.
Well, that was several years ago, unfortunately. Um, I mean, even before the pandemic in 2020, we knew we were leaving. We just didn't know when. And we had considered going in, I think it was 2018, and that kind of fell through. So then we were stuck. But at the time, also, we have 3 children. And so our youngest 2 were in school. And so we had to really think about
Yeah.
when was good timing for them. At the time, we were looking at like transitioning into high school slash middle school, so that would have been a really good time to go. That ended up falling through, and then really 2020 when the pandemic hit, I had my youngest was in middle school and my middle was in high school. And so, we weren't really going anywhere, I think, at that point. But it was that time when we said, okay, this is like for real, because we were looking at the kids not going to school for over a year.
Mm.
And that wasn't acceptable. It was not a good thing for them. And so we were looking at all the other places that were open. And that was kind of the biggest push. Unfortunately, our youngest by that point had really made her own community and said that if we left California, she was staying behind.
I remember.
So,
I remember.
so we had to wait until she graduated high school.
Well, and we're gonna get there, but we
Okay.
kind of waited, but
No,
found
we didn't. Yes,
you waited to move, but
yes, we waited to move, but we definitely were in the planning stages her entire senior year of high school.
Yes. Yes. Okay, next question. What were your biggest concerns about leaving California, and how did your family overcome them?
I had 0 concerns about leaving California. I will be 100% honest with you. I think Dave had 0 concerns about leaving California. Our youngest was going to college, so her concerns are not being able to see her friends, but that's what airplanes are for. And the other two are, kind of one's also in college, and the other one's figuring things out. I felt like, honestly, for our oldest, moving to Texas was the best thing that could happen because the cost of living is so much lower that when she gets a full-time job, she can afford to live on her own, which would not be the case.
Which is also a win for you.
It's a win for everyone. It's a win all around.
Win-win. All right, next question. How did you discover the Sealy Group during your relocation journey, and what stood out about working with myself and my team compared to past real estate experiences?
So I think you reached out to me because I had filled out a relocation form online, like an Austin relocation thing. And so I had a bunch of people reach out. You were one of the first ones who did. And what stood out for me with you was not, let's wait till you come to Texas to meet. You were like, let's hop on a Zoom call. I want to meet you. I want to talk to you. I want you to like meet me and know who I am and get a better feel for who we are. So I felt like you had a more vested interest in connecting with us and learning about us right from the get-go.
If and that's what I do and my team does for all of our relocation clients because and I want to kind of share y'all's story. We have so much access to off markets and coming soons and really have a pulse over every single micro area in the city that, it wasn't a pressure thing, but exactly what we initially discussed in our first Zoom. Hey, I really want to understand your vision and what you're looking for. And if the unicorn property pops up maybe sooner, I want you guys to have eyes on it.
Right.
So, not on the list, but, walk us through the evolution from that first Zoom call to sort of you guys flying out sooner than you'd originally uh, thought and all of your recon and sort of how things fell into place.
So my husband felt very strongly that we needed to spend a month in Austin looking around. We've moved a lot. And a lot of what our experience has been is that when you live somewhere temporarily, you get a better feel for the community. I was not going to move to Texas and rent. It was not going to happen. So the happy medium was, okay, let's figure out when we can get a good chunk of time to basically live in Austin. And so we found 3 weeks in January and we got an Airbnb downtown because my husband's office is downtown. So he was able to walk and I had a car and I just drove around. You and I met and went out a bunch of times, but I had really you know, basically went online. I found houses that looked interesting and said, okay, let me plot them out on a map and then let me pick which neighborhoods I'm going to start to drive around. And so I did a lot of driving.
And that's what we
Yeah,
do, especially if you're coming from out of town, is let's start with the product. Let's find products in different micro areas of the city and surrounding, suburbs that kind of check the boxes. And then let's go explore and sort of, dwindle down to really not only the product, but more importantly, the micro areas that you really could see yourself, living out the vision in.
well, that's where I think that you helped a lot in terms of your recommendations of things to do, because it gave Dave and me an opportunity to go do those things when he wasn't working. I mean, he's working, there's only so much I can do, and I literally just sat in a car and drove for a while. But when we would go out is when we would be able to go do things and see things. And a lot of those places came to be because of the recommendations that you had given us. Go check out Dripping Springs, go check out Opie's, go up here and check out the Domain, those kinds of things. So I think because of that, we were able to drive around and get a better feel for where we were and what we wanted.
So, for the record, if you're a top real estate professional, you're a therapist, you're a tour guide, and really, if you're coming from out of town, you need to sort of have the chops to be that white glove kind of Four Seasons concierge because when you are planning routes somewhere, yes, the house needs to be perfect, but the area and your lifestyle and what really resonates with you and your family,
Mm.
all that needs to align. And so what I love that you and Dave and your family did is, you know, you've heard this before from me that when someone does a home purchase or sell, this is not only one of the single largest financial decisions they'll ever make, but it's really one of the top emotional decisions they'll ever make.
Yes.
And so I love that y'all were so purposeful, forward thinking, really started the process super early and did a ton of research and came into town
Yes.
and got to
Yeah.
test the waters
Yeah.
in the different micro areas of town to see which was the best fit.
It made a huge difference because, we definitely knew that we were gonna rule out downtown, but we knew that we wanted to be close to downtown. And so that really shaped a lot of where we looked and where we wanted to focus our efforts on.
Perfect. All right, next question. Big one. Mentioned it earlier. How has the shift in cost of living impacted your family's quality of life?
Oh, I mean, I think it's huge. I mean, we were just at the my daughter and I were out yesterday, and we were just at the gas station, and I filled up my car, and I got back in the car, and I was like, "Well, that was $30 less than it was in California. $30 to fill up 1 tank of gas, less." So, I mean, everything,
Yep.
everything is less expensive.
Food, gas, restaurants,
Yes.
everything.
Well, not restaurants. I always say restaurant, yeah,
Has a high
not restaurants so much, but yeah, I mean, just the utilities. I mean, we live in a house that is 1.5 times the size of our other house, and we have a pool, and we have significantly more land. So there's a lot more maintenance, and we're still not paying what we were.
Okay, so for the viewers at home, remind me the size of this lot is
1.5 acres,
okay, 1.5 acres and the square footage of the home.
4,700 square feet.
So if in the area of California that y'all lived, if you took this property with, almost 5,000 square feet, acre and a half, and the pool, if you plucked it up and put it in that area of California, ballpark, what would the price point be?
Well, that's a good question. It would have to be in the Los Altos Hills area where we're from, and those houses go for upwards of 12 or 15 million. But the house across the street from ours, we were just in the downtown area of Los Altos. The house across the street from ours, with basically no lot, 5,000 square feet. They said, because I think they finished out their basement, went for $9 million.
So is it safe to say, uh, what I just heard, this property in the exact same part of California you lived in would be 6 to 8 times more
I
expensive?
think so. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just go for
That
yeah,
acres.
we would never have gotten into a house like this in
Okay.
California.
And
Not
and
unless he won the lottery.
we're here in the River Place neighborhood, one of the top ranked school districts, high schools
Mhm.
in the area, and you are a whopping 25 minutes from downtown Austin?
At the outside on a bad day.
On a bad day. If it's a good day and Leah's driving, it's 15 minutes to downtown. Okay, next question. What are the biggest differences you've noticed between living in California and Texas?
Oh, everyone is so much nicer here. They're just so much friendlier, um, and genuine. I feel a sense of genuine concern and, welcome from them in Texas.
I'm hearing um, very opposite and much more of the culture you were looking for.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there were plenty of people who were very friendly. It's not like I lived there for 9 years and had no friends. I mean, for sure, I found communities that did. I just feel that overall, stranger to stranger, people are much more open and welcoming and friendly, willing to lend a hand, willing to give you advice. I mean, Dave and I have been out so many times and have just started talking to people, and we're always asking, well, what do you recommend? If you've lived here for a long time, what do you recommend that we go do? People who don't know us will be like, give me your phone number, I'll send you a text. And they'll send a text with a list of things to do. And I'll never see them again,
Yeah.
but that's what they do.
So culture, we've heard cost of living.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, the weather.
The
We
little
moved
one.
in August,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. I have to be honest with you. Everyone said, don't move in August. What are you doing? Why are you moving in August? It was fine.
It was fine.
It was fine.
You have a great pool.
It was
Fine.
fine. It was really kind of awesome. But I mean, yeah, you're in the shade, and there's no humidity, not really in the app. By the time the afternoon comes, there's no humidity. It was fine.
Okay. Okay, couple lifestyle questions. What's been the biggest culture shock since moving to Austin?
I keep saying it, but the people. I mean, for us, it's just the people. I think I guess here's the other culture shock for me. We used to live in the DC area. We never went into DC. The closest we would get would be like Arlington or Alexandria. We just didn't go into the city. We didn't go to Baltimore. It was a pain. We lived in the Silicon Valley area for 9 years. Hardly ever went into the city. I hated the city. I didn't like San Francisco. San Jose was a little bit better, but you just didn't go. We are in downtown Austin every single week. Every week, and it is the easiest thing to do, and that was part of we wanted to make sure that we lived in a community that had easy access. We're in downtown and parked within 25
And
minutes.
it's fun.
And it's fun. There's a
It's
ton to do.
fun.
There's a ton. We're going to a concert tonight.
Okay, so I think I told you this fun stat that I'm sure the editor is going to put above me right now. Did you know Austin is the #1 most visited city every year in the entire world?
I did not know that.
More people
Wow.
visit Austin than London, England, than Rome, Italy,
Wow.
than New York City. The #1 most we are a fun city.
Very
There's a lot of things to do here.
Yes, there is.
There is. Okay, next culture question. What Texas features or lifestyle changes have exceeded your expectations?
Exceeded my
So
expectations.
what were you like?
I
I know you tested the
had
waters.
some high expectations.
You tested the waters on some things. But, and we've had a lot of conversations about culture, right? Um, Testing the waters for 2 or 3 weeks is different from actually now living here for
Mhm.
a few months. So looking back, what has like, wow, like, is there like a sense of pride or anything like, hey, we're lucky. This is incredible.
That is how I feel about this community. I mean, really and truly, that's how I feel about this community. So this was our first Halloween here, and I just love how everyone gets into the spirit.
Mm.
It's just fun. And in our old neighborhood on our street, we were pretty much the only house that decorated for Halloween.
What?
I know.
It's a big deal here.
I guess it is.
All holidays.
All holidays are a big deal,
Yeah.
and it's been so much fun. I drive up and down the streets, and I'm taking pictures and I'm sending to my kids, and so I love that there's just this embracing of life.
Yeah.
That's what it really feels like. Is that everyone's out walking their dogs. I mean, I cannot tell you there are a lot of people who walk in California. It's a very walkable community. You wouldn't expect that in Texas, and especially in this neighborhood, everybody's walking all the time.
Austin is a very lifestyle, fitness driven city for sure.
Yes, that's true too. Especially when you're downtown, right? And so like you expect that, especially around Lady Bird Lake and stuff. And so people are running and jogging and biking and
Yeah.
the whole thing. But although out here we've got the hiking trails. So there's just so much to do. Anything you want to do, I feel like we can do.
Well, we were talking about holidays and how big, and it reminds me, we were chatting before we started, and I know Dave's going to watch this video and he's going to be excited. The concierge service does not stop even after you purchase your
That's
home.
very true.
So, veteran Austin secret, we've got Thanksgiving right around the corner. You were telling me one of your favorite restaurants in downtown is Fix Southern House.
Yes.
And if you haven't been to Fix, big shout out to Fix, they put crack cocaine in their biscuits or something. I don't know what they put in their biscuits, but veteran move I've been doing for years. You can call them in advance. Dave's going to love this.
Yes, he is.
You can order 6, 12, 20 biscuits and pick them up the morning of Thanksgiving and have those biscuits at your Thanksgiving dinner.
That beats anything you can get at H-E-B. And let me tell you, I do love H-E-B.
H-E-B's great.
But not it's not better than Fix Biscuits.
Fix biscuits are
Biscuits.
off the charts.
They are phenomenal.
All right, next question, and we only have a couple more left for you.
Okay.
What was the most challenging part of the move, and how did my team help you with the relocation?
The most challenging part of the move had zero to do with you and everything to do with the moving company in California. But you all were fantastic in terms of, because we bought the house so early,
You bought it early.
bought it very early,
Well,
and
because we got a great deal. It was too good of a deal to pass
it
up,
was
and y'all weren't ready to
definitely
move in with the kiddos'
no.
school schedule,
No,
right?
exactly, exactly. So there was a big gap, and any problem that I had, so first of all, connecting me with someone who was able to watch over the house was
Full-time
huge.
property manager,
That was huge.
and, she's not only incredible at what she does, she's also the godparent of our children.
Mhm.
And so, every vendor that we refer, that's a direct reflection upon us. So
Right.
I knew if there was any issues, which there wouldn't have been, I would have got a phone call and I would have taken care of it personally.
Right. Well, she was wonderful, and we appreciated that. And so, there was that. And then just any little questions that we had. I think there were questions about settlement, and there were just like little things. And then when we got here, we had more questions, and it was nice to know that we could reach out to you and that you would still be there to help us. You weren't like, okay, I got my money, you sold the house, or you bought the house, we're done, I'm moving on, I got things to do.
Every agent that starts with us day one of the things that we pound into their brains is this is not a transactional business. If you don't want to be one of the 95% that fail, you have to go above and beyond, and you have to build a lifetime relationship, right? Where the client feels like at the end of the day you care.
Yeah.
All right, 3 more questions. Next question, if you could give one piece of advice to someone thinking about relocating to Austin, what would it be?
So I think the best thing we ever did was spend 3 weeks here. And I would say that anytime anyone wants to move anywhere, they should spend some time in whatever city there is so that they can learn it. For Austin specifically, I think the best thing we did was hire you all to help us, because if we hadn't had some of the insight that you were able to give us, I don't know how well we would have learned. I mean, you can only do so much driving, but if people don't kind of point you in the right direction of where to look. While we were going out and looking at neighborhoods, you were able to say, okay, this is kind of what it's like. And if you're looking to go into the city, this is about how long it would take. And really the community kind of stays here, or the community really goes in, or whatever it is, like just to have some of that background. So having you all give us some of that information really made a big difference in moving here.
And, and I'm gonna credit you and Dave, but we got you a really good deal on this beautiful house. All right, last 2 questions. Looking back, what made working with myself and my team the right choice for your relocation journey?
Well, I think a lot of what I had just said was, just in terms of you giving us the background, you giving us your knowledge. I just thought working with your team once we had decided on the house was phenomenal. Sela was so great, and just any questions that we had, and just making sure we had all the information that we needed, and the title company that you guys already work with were really easy to work with, and so it was a very seamless process. I mean, just incredibly seamless process, and so that was a big deal.
Last question for you today. If you had to go back, you said you really started around 2018 thinking about making them, and everything happens for a reason. What would be the top 2 or 3 pieces of advice you'd give yourself?
Um, I don't know. I kind of feel like we did all I feel like because we have moved so much, I learned a lot about the best way to relocate. It's a huge deal to relocate from one state to another, especially when you don't have young kids. And so you're thinking to yourself, how am I going to get involved in a community? So, on my end, I think because we had so much run up to it, I was able to do a lot of research, and that made a big difference. I was able to think about all the various parts of my life that were gonna be really important to me once I got here, and then I started doing research on it. So, I needed to make sure that we found a good synagogue, and so I was able to talk to different people and find out about the Jewish community up here, and actually, that was really interesting too in terms of where we chose to live
It's
because
close.
right, exactly, and so had we moved to Dripping Springs, it would have been a lot farther away.
Mhm.
So that impacted our decision. I'm very active in Orange Theory, and so one of the things I did was put little orange dots on my little map and figure out the Orange Theory studios. And anyone who works out at a gym like that knows that every studio is very different, and so it was really important to find a community, a studio where I was going to feel welcome and enjoy going. So I think that was really the big thing for us, was just doing the research in the parts of our lives that were gonna mean a lot to us, and make your decision that way.
Okay, I've got one off the cuff bonus round question for you. Knowing you guys well now, really big part of who y'all are. What are the top 2 or 3 restaurants you've been to so far here in Austin?
Okay, so Fix, Southern cuisine, is for sure our number one. We found it in 2018, and, it's still the best food that we've eaten so far. Um, I would also say that, Cooper's is my still number one barbecue, and we have tried a lot of
Well,
barbecue.
that's why you also love Opie so much, because he
Yeah.
worked at Cooper's for
Yes,
26
but it's
years.
a lot easier to get to Cooper's than it is to get to Opie's, but I will die by the sword. Cooper's is the best barbecue. And, the third one actually is a food truck. So there's a food truck in downtown Austin on, Red River Parkway.
Okay,
It's called Diddy Dogs,
I
and
remember.
and, the best hot dogs. Now, there is a place up here called the Dog House, which is also very good, but it's not as good as Diddy Dogs.
I remember when you were staying here doing your recon trip for those 2, 3 weeks. I remember you calling me and say something like, "Dallas, it's official. We're moving." I go, "Well, okay, what happened?" You're like,
Diddy Dogs.
I just found the best food truck. It's so good."
We had Dave's boss came, for an overnight, so he didn't really have a lot of time here, and we took him to Cooper's, and because 'cause we're like, "You have to have Cooper's," and then we walked over to Voodoo Donuts because you have to have Voodoo Donuts, and then he was like, "Okay, I'm stuffed, like, all done," and Dave said, "All right, look, if for some reason you get up after, 10 o'clock or whatever, and you wanna go at PM, because Diddy Dogs is only open from 8 PM on.
Yeah.
So if you decide that you need a late night snack," he's like, "walk over," because he was, I don't know, 3 blocks away from Diddy Dogs. He's like, "No, I'm full, I'm not gonna do it." The next morning, he calls Dave and he goes, "Well, I'm kinda having a hot dog hangover. I had 3 Diddy Dogs." And they're huge. She's like, "They're like crack, like, you just can't not have them."
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Leah, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an honor to serve you and your family. We really appreciate you sharing your story, and I am so happy to have you as a neighbor here in Austin,
Well,
Texas.
thank you so much. I appreciate you doing the interview. I appreciate all your help. I could not be happier here, and I know that it's in large part to you all.
It's been my honor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I filled up my car and I got back in the car and I was like, well, that was $30 less than it was in California. We live in a house that is 1.5 times the size of our other house, and we have a pool, and we have significantly more land. So there's a lot more maintenance, and we're still not paying what we were.
Did you know Austin is the #1 most visited city every year in the entire world? So we just finished an incredible interview with one of our top clients, Miss Lia Rensin. Just moved here to Austin, Texas a few months ago, and here's my top takeaways. You ready? #1, the cost of living is significantly less. She was able to get an 1.5 acre property, over 5,000 square feet, custom pool. And if you took this exact property and you put it in the Bay Area of California where she lived for, as you heard her say, it'd be 6 to 8 times as expensive. #2, she talked about culture quite a bit. And so that's something we really deep dove from the very beginning on the first Zoom call, to as she did her recon while she was here for a few weeks in Austin, to even afterwards. It wasn't just finding the right property that checked all the boxes, but really getting a true sense of the vision of what Leah and her family really wanted on a daily lifestyle basis, and finding the right culture. And then #3, hey, if you're looking for things to do, if you're looking for top restaurant recommendations, you're going to get that Ritz-Carlton, that Four Seasons concierge service every single step of the way from myself and my team. Again, my name's Dallas Seeley. I'm the founder and owner of the Seeley Group, one of the top-ranked real estate brokerages, not only here in the state of Texas, but the entire country as a whole. If you're thinking about moving to Austin, if you're thinking about relocating to Texas, reach out to myself and my team today. We're here to help.